The morning sun barely kissed the shores of Sidon, casting a pale golden light across the dewy gardens where Princess Europa wandered. The air was sweet with the scent of blooming roses and jasmine, yet there was a restless energy in the wind, a subtle shiver that made the petals tremble as if the world itself were holding its breath. Europa moved among the flowers, her fingers brushing the delicate blooms, her thoughts wandering far beyond the palace walls. The sunlight danced through the leaves, casting shifting patterns on the marble floor, and the gentle scent of roses and jasmine seemed to stir memories she could not name, filling her heart with both longing and quiet wonder. She had known the luxury of wealth, the endless entertainments of her court, yet a quiet longing stirred within her, a yearning for something unknown, something greater than the confines of her gilded life. Even amidst silk and gold, her heart ached for a world touched by wonder and unseen possibilities. It was then that she first saw him, a bull unlike any other. Its coat was the color of freshly fallen snow, shining with a soft, otherworldly glow. Its eyes were not the dull brown of mere beasts, but deep pools of golden fire, intelligent, watchful, almost human. Europa froze, her heart beating rapidly, sensing that this creature was no ordinary animal. A hush fell over the garden, as if the wind itself had paused to witness what would happen next. The bull approached, its hooves barely disturbing the earth, its muscles rippling under a flawless hide. Europa took an instinctive step back, but the creature did not charge, did not roar. Instead, it lowered its massive head slightly as though bowing to her. Her breath caught in her throat. There was something magnetic about it, something dangerous, yet utterly irresistible. "What are you?" she whispered, almost afraid to voice the question. The bull did not answer, yet in its gaze, she felt an unspoken command, a promise, and a warning all at once. It was then that a strange thrill coursed through her. The air seemed to shimmer, the sunlight gleaming off the bull's coat in a way that made it appear less a creature of flesh and more a being of light. Europa's pulse quickened. She had to know, had to see more. With a tentative step, she moved closer. The bull did not flinch. Instead, it turned slightly, inviting her to touch it. Europa's hand trembled as it grazed the soft, warm fur. A current of energy, electric and divine, ran through her fingers. The sensation was both terrifying and enchanting. It was as if the world had shifted slightly on its axis, tilting toward a reality she had never known. And then, with a grace that belied its size, the bull lowered itself to the ground, offering its back. Europa hesitated. She looked around. The garden, the shore, the distant cliffs. But there was nowhere to run. And yet, a voice in her mind, soft but commanding, urged her forward. Curiosity and courage intertwined, and she climbed onto the bull's broad back, her small hands gripping its snowy fur. The moment she settled, the bull rose, not with the slow lumber of a terrestrial creature, but with a fluid, almost gliding motion that made the earth beneath them seem irrelevant. Europa's heart raced. The palace, the gardens, the familiar coastlines of her home, all fell away in an instant. The wind whipped through her hair. The sea spread out below like an endless mirror, and the world blurred into motion and light. Europa's fear surged, but so did exhilaration. The bull moved with a majesty no mortal could match, its hooves striking the waves, but leaving no trace. The sun sparkled on the water, casting dancing reflections that flickered across the bull's hide. And through it all, Europa felt an odd sense of destiny pressing against her chest, a realization that she was no longer a mere observer of life, but a participant in something far larger. She glanced down at the water. It shimmered unnaturally, reflecting shapes and colors that should not have existed, the sea bending around them like liquid crystal. The air itself seemed to pulse with divine energy, carrying the faintest whisper of a voice she could not place, commanding, playful, and irresistibly compelling. The bull's eyes met hers, and in them, she saw both the depth of eternity and the fire of desire. In that gaze, Time seemed to pause, the world around them fading into shadows and light. A strange warmth coursed through her chest, as if the very air carried a pulse meant only for her. She felt both fear and fascination, drawn to the creature in a way that defied reason or explanation. It was then that she understood. This was no mere bull. This was Zeus, king of the gods, cloaked in mortal form to claim what he coveted. A shiver ran through her, for she could feel the weight of divine power radiating from him, and a thrill of awe and fear mingled in her heart, knowing she faced a being beyond all mortal reckoning. It was then that she understood. This was no mere bull. This was Zeus, king of the gods, cloaked in mortal form to claim what he coveted. A shiver ran through her, for she could feel the weight of divine power radiating from him, and a thrill of awe and fear mingled in her heart, knowing she faced a being beyond all mortal reckoning. In that instant, every doubt vanished. She fully understood that the creature beneath her was not a bull at all, but the mighty Zeus himself, the ruler of the heavens, watching her with intent and divine purpose. Fear threatened to overwhelm her, but Europa's curiosity and wonder outweighed it. She gripped the bull tighter, her gaze fixed on the horizon, as the world around them transformed into a canvas of color and movement. Clouds scudded across the sky in streaks of gold and crimson, and the sea beneath them seemed to rise and fall in perfect harmony with the rhythm of their flight. Europa's hair streamed behind her like a banner, and her heart swelled with both terror and delight. The wind tugged at her garments and whispered through the air, carrying the scent of the endless sea. Each heartbeat echoed like a drum of destiny, as if the world itself was urging her onward. She felt suspended between two realms, the familiar and the divine, her spirit soaring with exhilaration and wonder. The bull turned suddenly, and Europa felt the first sting of panic as the wind roared in her ears. But then came a realization as sharp as lightning. There was no malice here, only inevitability. This journey, terrifying and wondrous, was not a kidnapping in the ordinary sense. It was a transformation, a crossing from the world she knew into one she could never imagine, a world where gods and mortals intertwined, where destinies were written in the stars. Hours, or perhaps moments, for time seemed irrelevant, passed as the bull carried her across the vast, glimmering expanse of the Mediterranean. The air was thick with the scent of salt, and the faint trace of otherworldly perfume, a fragrance that made Europa's senses tingle with awareness. Each wave that broke beneath them was a note in a song of divine orchestration, a melody only the gods could compose. Europa's hands tingled where they rested on the bull, and she realized she could feel the pulse of power beneath her, a heartbeat that was not her own. It was as if the very essence of the heavens flowed through him, and a thrilling shiver of awe and wonder ran through her entire being. For a fleeting moment, she felt the boundary between mortal and divine blur, as if she were touching eternity itself. As night fell, the sea darkened into deep sapphire, and the moon cast a silver path across the waters. The bull moved with unerring purpose, guided by a force invisible yet absolute. Europa's fears had faded. The girl who had wandered the gardens that morning was no longer the same. She had glimpsed the divine, had been touched by it, and knew that her life would never again follow the simple rules of human expectation. Finally, the coast of Crete appeared, jagged and mysterious in the moonlight. The bull slowed, and Europa's heart pounded with a mixture of relief and longing. She looked down at the god beneath her, and for the first time she saw not just the bull, but the majesty of Zeus himself, the immortal power, the unyielding presence, the brilliance that no mortal eye could fully contain. He knelt at the water's edge, and she descended carefully, her feet touching the sand of a land that was now her destiny. The cool sand pressed beneath her feet, grounding her after the flight across the endless sea. A gentle breeze carried the scent of blooming flowers and salt water, mingling in a symphony of wonder. She paused for a heartbeat, looking back at the horizon, feeling the weight of the journey and the promise of what was to come. At last, The magnificent white bull slowed and entered a breathtaking garden on the island of Crete, where fragrant flowers swayed gently in the evening breeze. Golden light from the fading sun bathed the trees and blossoms, turning the place into something that felt almost divine. The great bull knelt quietly upon the soft grass. With cautious wonder, Europa stepped down from its back. Her heart still raced from the impossible journey across the sea, yet the peaceful beauty of the garden calmed her trembling breath. For a moment, everything was silent. Even the air seemed to hold its breath, as if the entire world had paused to witness the unfolding of something extraordinary. Then the air around the bull began to shimmer. The light slowly dimmed, and a warm golden glow surrounded the powerful creature. Europa watched in astonishment as the bull's form began to change. The magnificent body dissolved like mist under the fading sunlight, transforming before her eyes. In its place now stood Zeus, the mighty ruler of the heavens. Tall, radiant, and powerful, he gazed at her with calm and gentle eyes. Europa stood frozen, overwhelmed by awe and disbelief. Zeus spoke softly, his voice steady yet filled with warmth. He told her that from the heights of Olympus he had seen her walking among the gardens of her homeland. Her grace, her beauty, and the quiet light within her spirit had captured his attention like nothing before. Drawn by a force he could not ignore, he had descended from the heavens and taken the form of the white bull to come near her. But it was not only her beauty, he explained. Destiny itself had guided this moment. This island, he said, would become the beginning of a new legend. From her would rise a noble lineage of rulers who would shape the fate of Crete and echo through the stories of generations to come, including the future king Minos. His words were spoken with such calm sincerity, such quiet conviction, that the fear in Europa's heart slowly melted away. She saw no cruelty in his gaze, no shadow of deceit, only admiration, wonder, and a strange tenderness she had never encountered before. The evening breeze whispered softly through the garden as the golden light of sunset faded into twilight, and in that peaceful moment, the heart of Europa, once filled with uncertainty, slowly began to soften. The fear that had followed her across the sea gave way to something new, something unexpected. Slowly, gently, her heart tilted toward the god who had crossed the vast sea for her. And beneath the quiet sky of Crete, the beginning of a legend was written in silence, one that would echo through the ages of myth and memory. For a quiet moment, Europa looked into the eyes of Zeus, seeing not the power of a god, but the warmth of a heart that had crossed the heavens for her. Slowly, she stepped closer, her gaze soft and thoughtful. Zeus reached out and gently took her hands in his touch calm and reassuring. And beneath the quiet sky of Crete, a silent understanding passed between them as the first chapter of their legendary story began. If this journey with Europa and the god of the sky thrilled you, don't keep it to yourself. Share the legend, like the story, and subscribe to witness more myths come alive. Step into the world of gods and heroes, where every story holds magic, mystery, and the power to inspire. Join us and let the timeless legends of Olympus ignite your imagination like never before.